Hey guys, Tom here from synthhacker.com and welcome back to another tutorial for Native Instruments Massive. In this tutorial we're going to be looking at making this reggae or dub style pluck sound. So it's kind of that like offbeat dub kind of pluck sound, or like reggae pluck that you hear in a lot of genres really, obviously dub and reggae, and then you have this sound that's used very commonly in dubstep and also brostep, whatever you want to call it. Even in like Skrillex's tracks, you know, it's got these all these aggressive cool bass sounds going on, but then a lot of the time, you know, it's just got this really simple kind of dub pluck every second beat, which is really cool, and it's a really great way to add some kind of musical rhythmic element to your sound, especially, you know, if you're into like dubstep and stuff like that. But really cool sound, lots to go over in the sound. A few cool techniques that you can apply to other sounds that you'll make as well. And yeah, let's get started. So let's go ahead and create a new patch. Just before I do begin creating the patch, as always guys, this video is sponsored by my website, which is synthhacker.com. Definitely go ahead and check that out if you haven't done already. I've got over 500 massive presets there on there for sale, all handcrafted by me, and currently the mega pack, which contains all the presets I've ever made, is on sale as well, so definitely go ahead and check that out over at synthhacker.com, or simply click the link in the description below. And thanks in advance if you decide to purchase that. I think you'll really find those presets useful, and obviously it helps support me and the channel as well. So without further ado, let's begin making the sound. So this is a 2 oscillator sound. We're going to make sure that oscillator 1 and 2 are switched on, and then we're simply going to pitch oscillator 2 up to 12 semitones. Just quickly, make sure that the sound is polyphonic. It should be if you initialize the patch anyway, but if it's monophonic, you obviously won't be able to play chord, so make sure that it is monophonic. And then what we're going to do is just give the sound a few voices of unison, switch the unison spread off, and just really slightly move this slider to the right. We don't want it to be too detuned, as it is quite a solid sound. The next thing we're going to do is just again hop back into the oscillator tabs here, and we're just going to make sure that these sounds are being routed through filter 1, and I'll go through why we're going to do that in just a second, but just make sure that both these oscillators are saw waves as well. This is like a really actually quite a basic sound. I mean, there's the filters section is probably the most complex part of it, but the oscillators really just really simple, just one oscillator that's pitched an octave above the other, both with saw waves. Let's see, so I think we can move into the filter section now. Make sure that the filters are set to series. You can slide this slider up here, and just in case you didn't know what this actually does, it essentially means when it's in series that the signal is going to be passed through filter 1 and then through filter 2, which we need for the sound, because what we're going to actually do is pass the audio signal from the oscillators through a low pass filter, and then through also a bandpass filter as well, which we can do now. So we're going to use, as I said, a low pass filter. We're going to use the low pass 2 pole filter, and we're going to make sure that the volume for this is full, and also make sure the volume for filter 2 is full as well. But we're actually going to bring the mix down to 2. So essentially the signal is going through filter 1 because it's in series, and then through filter 2, and then out here from filter 2 into the effects. So make sure that you have a low pass 2 pole filter, as I said. Make sure you bring the resonance of this right down, and then what we're going to do is we're going to set up our envelope and envelope 4 with no sustain. We're going to bring the level down here. Bring the decay down a little bit, somewhere just below halfway, with a little bit of release. And then, so this is by default in Massive, envelope 4 is the amplitude envelope, but we're also going to use this as a modulation source for the filter. So we're going to simply drag and drop this into the cutoff box here, and just add a little bit of modulation. Probably, if we move the cutoff down a bit, probably like just over halfway, something like that. So far we have this. which is kind of getting there, but it's not exactly what we're looking for just yet. So we're going to add the bandpass filter. Essentially, a bandpass filter, just in case you didn't know, filters out all the frequencies apart from a specific band of frequencies. So it's not like a low pass filter, which cuts off just high frequencies, or a high pass filter that just cuts off low frequencies. You can actually determine whereabouts in the frequency spectrum this cuts out all of the other frequencies with this bandwidth control. And we're going to bring this down to about here. We're going to move the cutoff to just below halfway. I'm actually going to boost the resonance, which kind of gives it the characteristic that we're looking for. So that essentially is just cutting out all the frequencies in the sound apart from a kind of specific band. This is actually quite important because this is kind of a background sound. You do want to hear it, but you don't want it to be the most noticeable sound in the track, because you probably have like bass sounds that you want people to pay attention to, leads, maybe vocals, drums. By using a bandpass filter to cut out a lot of the frequency content of the sound, what you're actually doing is creating a lot of room then for other sounds to sit in the mix, which is always a really good idea. The next thing we're going to do is just go into the effects section, and we're going to use a dimension expander, and just bring the size of this down a little bit and increase the dry wet. Then we're going to go into our second effect here and just use a very simple reverb. We're going to bring the color of this down, but we're going to increase the density. We're going to have size about halfway, and then just bring the dry wet down. And that's pretty much the sound. What I would advise doing is maybe going into the voicing tab and playing around with this parameter here. This will control how detuned the voices actually are. I like it when it's not too detuned, but obviously that comes down to personal preference. And then just finally, to clean up the sound, we'll just reduce this lower shelf here just to cut out some of the low end, again, just making some room for the rest of the mix. Another thing you can actually do is add a sign shaper, which I actually forgot to do. And this really sign shaper is kind of a type of distortion, which can really bring out some of the higher harmonics in the sound. So if we just increase the dry wet a little bit, maybe bring down the drive. You can really hear it brings out a lot of the harmonics in the sound. I really like that effect on these type of sounds. And then finally, you have the option of adding vibrato if you want. Sounds pretty cool actually when you add vibrato, but again, that's completely just personal preference. So hopefully you got a lot of use out of this tutorial. It's a really simple but really effective sound, really cool, and it's good to know how to make sounds like this. And yeah, hopefully you learnt a technique or two. It really cool sound. So if you have any questions about this sound, you're not sure about how I did something or something like that, or you just want to ask any questions at all, feel free to leave any comments down below. Also, to stay up to date with new sound design tutorials from myself, feel free to hit subscribe. That's always also a really great way to support the channel as well. Leave a like if you found the video useful. And again, guys, this video is sponsored by my website, which is synthhacker.com. There's currently a sale there on the massive preset pack, so I definitely advise going and checking that out, especially the mega pack, which has over 500 presets created by me, for massive, all handcrafted by me as well. So definitely go ahead, check that out. Thanks in advance if you decide to purchase that. And yeah, without further ado, I'm going to head off. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.